Animal Crossing Pocket Camp, the mobile version of Animal Crossing, is getting shut down in November, joining the lineage of other Nintendo mobile stuff like Dragalia Lost and my beloved Miitomo, Nintendo's short-lived social network that I think is maybe the only good, positive force in the social media landscape, gone. Sad. But is it sad that Pocket Camp is shutting down? Honestly, no, as it turns out. And it's not just because I don't like it very much. It's because they're replacing it with a new version of the app when online services end on November 28th. So just backing up really quick, I really love Animal Crossing. I've been an Animal Crossing fan for a long time. I picked up Wild World on the Nintendo DS way back when and just became a real fiend for that thing. It was the kind of game that I spent a lot of time as a kid just like hiding under the covers playing until the wee hours of the morning, just making sure that my parents didn't come in and see that I was still awake. But like, what am I gonna do? Not go fishing and not go catch bugs in the middle of the night? There are certain bugs and fish that only come out in the middle of the night. Dude. No, I had to play it. But like no one else I knew was playing it. It was just like this weird little thing that only I knew about for some reason, at least in my immediate circle. And that continued for a while. I remember when City Folk came out for the Wii, I picked that up and like no one else I knew picked that up. And like in retrospect, I understand why, because that game wasn't great. I think if I had to throw a dart at the franchise, I would say that's probably the weakest one. And I then went on to get a copy of the original Animal Crossing for GameCube and play that on the Wii instead. And I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. It's got some weird quirks about it. The villagers are mean, which is very funny. But at the end of the day, there was something about Wild World that always really stuck with me. And it wasn't until New Leaf came out on 3DS that really clicked for me, because a lot of people I knew got into New Leaf on the 3DS. A lot of people I knew were getting 3DSs and playing that game. The tournament market was wild. Every video game podcast I listened to was like talking about how great New Leaf was. It was a moment. It was a little mini moment, which I think was like the precursor to the big moment when New Horizons eventually came out. But like New Leaf was this little mini moment all its own. This has nothing to do with what I'm talking about, but I did like import Japanese faceplates for my non-XL 3DS. So I could have like an Animal Crossing 3DS. Just very happy with it. I think it looks great. And I hope it never dies. Anyway, the thing I learned about Animal Crossing as a franchise, based on my love of Wild World and pretty much everyone's love of New Leaf, is that Animal Crossing is best when it's portable. There's just something really personal and really engrossing about having a little town that you can just shrink down and put in your pocket and visit throughout the day. I remember working at a Starbucks around when New Leaf came out, and just having the 3DS in my pocket at all times. And whenever I took breaks, I would like flip it open, go do some stuff around town, flip it closed again, put it into sleep mode, and then just like do the rest of my shift at the cafe. And the flip side of this, the like Animal Forest, Animal Crossing, and City Folk version, where you need to sit in front of a TV and you can only check in like while you're home and have access to the TV, just doesn't feel right in my bones. And all of that leads me to 2017 when Animal Crossing Pocket Camp was announced, a mobile version of Animal Crossing. And honestly, like, I should have known that this was going to disappoint me from, the announcement, but there was something about this idea of taking the campsite stuff that got added to New Leaf later and incorporating that into its own game that you could just like check in with on your phone throughout the day that felt really exciting to me. I was really hopeful, maybe naively, that Nintendo was going to make like a full-ass Animal Crossing game that fit on my phone. What we got was not that. It's got its fans. It has fans out there. There are people who still play that game every day, and like shout out to you if you're a big Pocket Camp lover. But it was just like the microtransactions and the energy meter stuff and like everything about Animal Crossing that I loved getting kind of shoved down this like monetization rabbit hole that was almost like upsetting more than anything. And I think at the core of it, the thing that really didn't work for me is like it didn't feel like Animal Crossing. I didn't find the like daily activities relaxing the way I wanted them to. I didn't find the customization of my campsite to be like fun or relaxing in the way that eventually I think New Horizons became. In a lot of ways, I see Pocket Camp as this like weird missed opportunity, because I remember when it was announced, I was like, oh, here it comes. It's the precursor to whatever the Nintendo Switch version of Animal Crossing is going to be. We're going to get some like weird tie-in between this app and the game. And like that didn't happen either. And that's just me setting up my own expectations and Nintendo not meeting them. But I can't really fault them for that, I guess. But still, just like as the noted Animal Crossing sicko in my friend groups, it's weird that I don't have Pocket Camp like pinned to my home screen on my iPhone. And weirdly for me, the actual death knell for Pocket Camp in a lot of ways wasn't Nintendo announcing that they're shutting it down in November, but was instead the launch of the Delta emulator, which allows me to play DS games on my iPhone. And now that I have all of Animal Crossing Wild World again back on my phone, why would I play this microtransaction-filled nightmare? I won't. It doesn't feel like a full Animal Crossing game to me. And that's where the follow-up to the announcement of Pocket Camp's shutdown gets really interesting, because they're not just shutting it down and letting it die and wither away in people's memories like Dragalia Lost or Miitomo. They're instead launching a new version of the app that same day on November 28th that's going to be a paid app with no microtransactions or in-app purchases that'll allow players of the original game to carry their saved progress over, and you can play it offline. Nintendo's always had the weirdest strategy with mobile games, because I remember Shigeru Miyamoto getting on stage at an Apple event to announce Super Mario Run, a mobile-first version of Mario that was like by him, which was a miraculous idea. And he got on stage and he was talking about how he like designed it to be played on the subway because it was playable in portrait mode. So the whole thing was like you could hold on to the subway handle and also be playing Super Mario Run at the same time. And I was like, oh my God, he gets it. Because I mean, my kingdom for portrait mode mobile games, I'm obsessed with them. I hate needing to sit on the subway or something and hold something landscape. It just feels terrible. The idea of a mobile-first Mario that I could play portrait mode was amazing, and then the game launches, and you need to be connected to the internet at all times to play it. So I can't play it on, like, an airplane. I can't play it on the subway. I'm just, like, out of luck if I don't have an internet connection at all times to play this thing, which was, like, such a huge bummer. And, of course, Animal Crossing Pocket Camp being this, like, fully online thing also meant that you needed to be connected to the internet at all times, because I guess they were like worried you were gonna hack in some weird items or like steal stuff. I don't even know. I'm sure there's Animal Crossing Pocket Camp hacking scene. I'm sure you are out there. I don't know you. Point being, when you remove all of that stuff from this new version of Animal Crossing Pocket Camp, what we're left with is something a lot closer to what I hoped it would be at launch. A version of Pocket Camp that I can check in with routinely and not feel this weird, overbearing pressure to spend $5 to get like a specific pumpkin-themed fence or something. It's a lot more appealing to me than what we had before. There are obviously some trade-offs here. You know, it not being online anymore means you can't visit other people's campsites. I don't think that that's as big of a deal as some people might, personally, because I've experienced this with a lot of Animal Crossing games, or at least with New Leaf and with New Horizons. There's like this immediate fervor where everyone you know is playing it at the same time. Everyone's visiting each other's islands. Turnips are going wild. And then all of a sudden, everyone just kind of stops. Like, everyone played New Leaf for, I would say, like 2 or 3 months before I stopped like hearing about it from my friends, and I was the only one like still playing it every single day, or at least I was the only one vocally talking about still playing it every single day. And then New Horizons, similarly, you know, that thing came out, was obviously a huge deal, sold a lot of Switches, pushed Animal Crossing up into like the first tier. Like, Animal Crossing is a Mario now, Animal Crossing is a Zelda, but still, everyone played like 500 hours of that game in a couple months, and then that was kind of it for a lot of people for a long time, or at least until like Happy Home Paradise came out and all this other stuff. At which point, it's a lot harder to find people that you're going to play with online. In the case of Animal Crossing Pocket Camp, I don't really mind that I won't be able to do that at all. I think the two lingering questions for me about this, and Nintendo says they're going to announce some more stuff about this in October, so, you know, we'll get these details probably. How much is it going to cost? Because there's a world in which it's like a lot of money for no kind of reason, which I think would be very funny. I will probably pay it. I think that there's a limit here. Like, I think the most that I would pay personally for an offline version of Animal Crossing Pocket Camp is like $30, and I think that's pushing it. I think even if I opened it up and it was like $29.99 in the App Store, I would have some questions that I would need to ask myself before I hit that purchase button. But I think that is the upper limit for me. The other question that I have is like, what other weird trade-offs do we not know about? Like, what Nintendo-y stuff is lying beneath the surface here? Because Nintendo, I find, they have great video games. I like their games a lot. I think the Nintendo Switch is like one of the greatest handhelds ever made, maybe like one of the greatest consoles ever made. It's a miracle device in a lot of ways. But also, Nintendo has a lot of weird stuff. And it's with that I wonder, what am I not thinking about? Like, what is hanging out just outside of the surface of this announcement that, like, I should be considering? And when this thing launches and has this, like, weird kind of anchor pulling it down to the bottom of the sea, I'm like, oh, okay, bye. That's disappointing. On to the next thing, I guess. Outside of those two questions, I think this is, like, overall a good thing. I think this is a better way to shut down a game like Pocket Camp. I wish that Dragalia Lost could have gotten something like this. I wish that Miitomo could have gotten something like this, but I know that that's impossible because it was a social network. But honestly, I just really want Miitomo back. I think it's the best. But I think in a world where game preservation is like becoming a thing more and more and more people think about and talk about, specifically game preservation on the App Store, where like Apple or Google at any moment could be like, yeah, all those old games don't work anymore unless you update them, and a lot of people just can't or don't, or like don't have the financial ability to update their old apps. They just get lost to time forever, and then they're just unplayable and no one can ever visit them again. And the idea of Nintendo being like, we're shutting this thing down, but also here's another version of it that you can continue to poke at is, I think, like weirdly very nice of them. It feels like a more pro-consumer version of Nintendo than I'm used to seeing in some ways, and that rocks. So Animal Crossing Pocket Camp Offline Edition, whatever they end up calling it, that's launching apparently November 28th. I'm excited about it. Are you excited about it? You let me know, and maybe we could talk about it in the comments or something. Like, comment, subscribe, baby. Catch you later.